Well, hello everyone. Thanks for stopping in. Today, I want to announce the launching of my new business, Gulf Coast Worms. Now, I don't have a whole lot of experience as far as raising worms, but I am a fisherman, and good grief. I know now the term worm farm, but I got my first worm farm when I was probably about 6 years old. It was a little styrofoam chest and came with some sort of bedding. I don't even know what it was. I know it was real gooey. But from that day on, I'd go out in the yard, I'd dig a worm, I'd put it in that bucket, and anytime I wanted to go across the street to the farm, I'd just reach in there and grab me a handful of worms and I'd go fishing and loved it. Well, here I am now, and I've done the same thing throughout my life. Just as a matter of fact, before I decided to do research and actually get some information on raising worms or breeding worms. Uh, I had a worm, we'll call it a worm bin, proper term, in my shop, and they were in native soil, just stuff that I had dug up out of my garden. I live here in down on the Gulf Coast here in Alabama, so we have uh, pretty decent weather. It can get a little hairy at times, but look, right now, of course, it's overcast, but this is the middle of January, and it's 66 degrees out here. As you see, I'm in short sleeves. Beautiful. Our high is supposed to be 70, 72, something like that. But anyway, what I did is I got into this bin and I started digging around, looking for worms, making sure I had some to go fishing. And I ran across this little thing. Okay, looks just like the osmosis fertilizer that I use for my garden, or did. When when that fertilizer is spent, it actually absorbs water into it and leaves like a little shell. And I saw these in my worm bin, and I thought to myself, what in the world? How in the world did your fertilizer get in your worm bin? And you got to realize, I didn't take care of these worms. I threw them some water every once in a while, and some kitchen scraps, because I knew they had to eat. I knew that much about worms. And I put it in my finger and I was rolling it around, and usually my fertilizer will pop real easy. It just smooshes and goes to nothing. But this one didn't. So I put a little bit more pressure on it, and then finally it popped. I didn't think nothing about it. So I went on, and then I started, my daughter gave me a sub pod for as a gift, because she knew that I was going to get into composting and everything for my garden. And I thought, okay, well, this is good, but it's full of holes, so that wouldn't work. I didn't want to bury it in the ground like they suggest and all this, because I still wanted my worms for fishing. So what I did is I lined the inside of it with plastic and was very careful with it. I lined it with plastic. I taped up everything that was a possible hole. And the only thing I left was at the top. If you know what a sub pod is, they got itty bitty little holes, air holes, in the top of it. So, air can get in, circulate. So I left that open. Now these holes are itty bitty. Without looking at it right now, I would guess probably a 1/16 of an inch, maybe even smaller. Well, I put my worms into this. I used shredded cardboard because that's what I found online, and threw in some coffee grounds, some other things, and took all my worms out of the plastic bin that I had them in and put them in my sub pod. Okay, go out the next morning and I see a couple little worms on the ground, and of course they're dead. And I'm thinking, what in the world? you know, because I had hydroponics going in my shop. So in the daytime it was all lit up, of course, but at nighttime it's on a timer, everything went off. So this went on for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to lose all my worms. So I jumped on YouTube, started doing some research. Okay, well, you got to worry about light and low pressure systems and this and that. And I'm thinking, you know what, there's a lot to raising worms if you're going to do this right. So I dove in, and then I thought, okay, well, run across these stories about the Alabama jumpers and the blues and the reds and the euros, and I'm thinking, what are all of these? And then I run across a video that says there's over 7,000 different species of worms. I thought, okay, I got to learn. So I took off YouTube every day. Whenever I get done working, doing whatever project I was doing, I was back on YouTube trying to figure this out. And I thought, okay, well, if you're going to do it right, instead of using the ones out of the garden, they give you so much trouble, and you want compost for the garden, why not get composting worms? So I started doing research. I ran into Steve from the Urban Worm Company, and then that there led me to, I found a video for Captain Matt. Love that guy, man. He's totally awesome. Learned a whole lot. And one of his videos led me to Mimi. Well, guess what? Mimi sells worms. So I got on the horn, ordered me a pound of euros because I like to fish. They're a little bit bigger. And set out. And when I looked at the price, I caught it on sale. I caught her on her Black Friday sale. So I wasn't too much worried about that. But when I looked at the regular price of the worms, I took the phone in to my wife, and I said, I want you to look at the price of these worms. And she just kind of looked at me, and you know how your spouse does. They give you that funny look, and you know you're in trouble already. I know what she was thinking. She didn't say it, but I know what she was thinking. Yeah, I know you got worms out in your shed, out in your shop. She says, so if you want more worms, go dig some. Well, I let that pause for a little bit, and she just looked at me. She says, that's totally insane. I said, absolutely. I said, we're going into the worm business. So here I am. I've already got my website. I've got some worms I've already ordered like 3 or 4 times now off of Mimi. Awesome lady. I'm getting my bins built, as you'll see. I started, and then my first 2 racks that I built, I already realized that's not going to be enough. So I'm redesigning that, and I've got videos showing partials, you know, of me painting and the actual build, and I'm getting ready to start the actual build out of the whole shop, which I have videos for all that. So I'm hoping that I'll be sufficient for y'all to follow me and watch my journey as I become a full-fledged worm farmer. Listen, I'm so thankful that you stopped by. I hope you subscribe. Whether you like or not, you know, I'm here for the business, but I am going to start doing YouTube, and I'm not very good at this. I haven't done this before, ever. I'm not much for being in front of the camera, but I'm going to do my best, and if y'all will bear with me, I'm sure you're going to see some comedy in some of this too. So we'll see. But listen, thanks for stopping by, taking the time to listen to me rambling on, and subscribe, and I hope to see you back. Follow me along. It's going to be a journey. Thanks.